I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Sir. Mayor Miller,
Here.
Mr. Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Reckler,
Here.
Ms. Parker. Here. Ms. Cordova,
Here.
Mr. Elkins,
Here.
Mr. Sell,
Here.
Mr. Sell.
Here.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear you. Mr. Merrick,
Here.
Mr. Lopez.
Here.
All right, all present.
Thank you, ma'am. If you please rise, Councilman Parker is going to lead us in the invocation, and Councilman Robinson is going to lead us in the pledges.
Please bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for everything that you've bestowed upon us. We thank you for the rain that we had. Please continue to send rain our way. Please be with each one of us as we are here to serve our community and work together as community leaders with our community members as one whole. Be with us always in all the decisions that we make. In your heavenly name we pray, our Lord. Amen.
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 Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the example of American friendships among the United cultures.
Okay, we're going to get started. We have a pretty full agenda this evening. Our first item is public comment. The public has the opportunity to provide comment on subjects regarding city business during the public period. Speakers' comments will be limited to 3 minutes unless the mayor and/or councilors request more information. The time limit is given in an effort to allow public input, but also move the agenda forward in a prompt yet efficient manner. All speakers must sign in at the beginning of the meeting. Topics are limited to 6 speakers per topic. Okay. Has everybody signed that wanted to make public comment before I go? Okay. Ms. Baca, you're first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm just going to read off my paper so I don't skip anything or forget anything, okay? I'm tired of hearing that people are leaving Portales because of the water issue. Let's stop blaming the failure of this city solely on the water issue alone. Let's see it for what it really is. We don't believe in being proactive, and when it comes to being reactive, we rather complain and blame others, or we put our heads in the sand so we don't see others' needs. We just focus on our wants, which right now the focus is green lawns and what we consider is our quality of life. No, people are not leaving Portales simply because of the water. They are leaving because of the roads. There is no road in Portales that does not need to be completely redone. They leave because of the trash. We still have trash flying around our neighborhoods because the trash bins have no bottoms or tops, and we as citizens are too lazy to go and pick up what we can. Pride in our homes. Neighbors don't take pride in their homes, but instead they keep their homes looking like a dump, driving down the value of their neighbors' homes. Poor air quality. The allowance of an overabundance of dispensaries and growing facilities has caused poor quality in this town. Not only that, these dispensaries and growing facilities are raping the city of gross receipt tax because they know the loopholes to get their customers on medical marijuana, where taxes don't apply or they are paid in cash where there is no tracking. Then we come to the shortage of our law enforcement and medical emergency because we can't hire and retain a full staff at all times because their pay doesn't even come close to what they should be receiving, which is a disgrace. These are just a few of the reasons that people are leaving Portales. Let me tell you, after listening to the last city council meeting, I was appalled at the conversations as well as the vote that took place. If you wanted to build trust, then you should have stayed on point with the level 3 water restrictions until we had the addition of the reservation tank in place, current wells up to par or new wells drilled. You as a council should not be basing your votes on those who want to wash their cars, want green lawns, or even want to have a splash party through sprinklers. It should be based on the city's needs as a whole and the future of our city. I think I need to repeat that. It should be based on the city's needs as a whole and the future of our city. It's what is being decided here that determines our city's future. We need to become true leaders and stop being sheep that are running towards a cliff. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Chris Cordova and family powerlifting. Did you just sign up?
Oh, yeah, I just signed it.
Okay,
Sorry.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. And your name? Okay. Quan Ekstrom. 3 minutes.
In November, the city council indicated that it would ignore the felony kidnapping of my son Benjamin Ekstrom and the child abuse that was reported in May of last year. They've also informed me that they will not recognize the court order that was in effect when that report was made. This is a new court order. I could provide copies of it if the council would like to read it. The previous court order was a protection order issued by the 9th Judicial District. So my first question is, as I was told, I don't have the right to report these crimes to the city. What criteria does the city of Portales use to restrict who may report crimes such as protection order violations, domestic abuse, child abuse, and kidnapping? I've not been able to get an answer when I requested that information.
We
Okay.
don't respond during public comment.
All right, well, as I've informed the city council previously, there's a conflict of interest. One of the kidnappers is the AP manager for the local Walmart and works intimately with law enforcement. She's also had sexual relations with several of them. Under New Mexico 29-1-1, is it reasonable for law enforcement to prevent an investigation of their acquaintances or sexual partners? Under New Mexico 40-13-6, is it reasonable for them not to investigate violations of protection orders? New Mexico's mandatory reporter law 32A-4-3 requires a police report to be made within 48 hours. Does the city of Portales believe that less than 48 hours have elapsed since this was reported in May of 2023? Have charges been filed against any law enforcement officer, council member, or other city employee that was notified of this and did not report or had a duty to investigate under New Mexico's mandatory reporter law? As defined under 32A-4-2, is psychological and emotional child abuse legal in the state of New Mexico? Is felony custodial interference as defined by 30-4-4 legal in the state of New Mexico? Has the city of Portales taken action to remove any police officer that has refused to investigate this as required by 29-1-1, the New Mexico's duty to investigate? I was told that the city council's received correspondence that I do not have a right to custody. Does the city council believe that correspondence meets the criteria defined under New Mexico law of a court order issued by a judge?
Okay, that's your 3 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Ekstrom.
Okay. One last thing, any council member that helps me resolve this will be excluded from the lawsuit.
Thank you. Ms. Sweeten.
I will also be reading off of mine so I don't go over. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I attended the city council meeting on April 22nd, and I feel I must comment on what I heard that evening. I think correctly, City Councilmember Diane Parker spoke about the steps that have been taken to moderate the speed of drivers in school zones and said that it was better to be proactive than reactive. And I could not agree more. That is why I was so deeply disappointed in the decision by the council to move off of stage 3 water restrictions to choose to be reactive instead of proactive. A point that was brought up by a couple members was that people are watering anyway, so there seems to be no reason to even be in restrictions. By that reason, people are speeding, so there's no point in having a school zone speed limit. People are still watering in part because there's nothing being done about those who are abusing the water supply that we all must share. Part of the solution cannot be to choose to do less. Another disturbing aspect of the discussion was in regards to comments that seem out of touch with some residents in the town. Perhaps you're just not aware of the message that was sent to us, the common residents. I mean the parts of the conversation in which having a clean car was considered a quality of life issue, and talks about how those can afford a nice green yard may be able to do so with a higher cost. Being able to bathe, wash clothes, have water for baby formula, those are what many citizens consider quality of life issues. There are people who are already struggling to pay water bills and cannot afford a car, let alone a shiny one. Identifying a green yard as a point of pride creates a schism. If we cannot afford a higher water price to water our yard, does that mean we shouldn't take pride in our home? That's the message that's being sent. In fact, the conversation seems backwards. No matter your income, we all get water from the same aquifer. Water efficient toilets, rocks for xeriscaping instead of dirt. These things all take money. So maybe instead of shrugging when people use water or water their lawn because they're indifferent to a high water bill, perhaps there are programs that could be created, such as a monthly award for before and after xeriscaped yards. But right now, it feels like the preference is being given to those with the higher incomes. I hope you will continue to address the water restrictions for all of your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That concludes our public comment. Our next item is presentations. Our first presentation is monthly department update for Police Department, Chief Williams.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Council. I'll try to be brief because I know we got all these kids here waiting to get out of here. So, I mean, you all have got this. So basically, if you have questions, please hit me with them. Otherwise, I mean, our goals, trying to get our recruiting up and increase our efforts out on the street, as I think they should be. Next. Okay, just a brief of where we're at staffing. One is on patrol, we're allowed with our current staffing, we would be allowed to have 14 patrol officers. Currently we have 10, so we're down 4 there. We currently have 3 police service aides, which fill our vacancies in the meantime. So we have those doing white collar crimes, helping do background for pre-employment, different things like that. And then a third one is doing the on the street police service aid duties, helping with traffic control, different things like that. While she finishes up college, and then she wants to move into the police officer position. Investigations, we'd be allowed 5. We currently have 2, but 2 of those PSAs are working in investigations. Have the next one. And then just a brief breakdown of what our administrative and support staff is there in the office. Our vacancy is at the deputy chief position. We had to add, we were able to add, due to our patrol shortage, a second records clerk. The IPRA demands and everything else are a full-time job for one of them. Next. So a little bit about what the officers are required to do by statute. Each year, there's a 40-hour, basically 40 hours over a 2-year period. Many of those training hours are required annually. It says 40, but it's usually closer to 50 that we have to get. We're trying to get that done as fast as we can, and as well as getting our officers who are instructors in the active shooter for civilians, getting them out in the community to help do those trainings. We did it with all the schools. I think some of the church groups have asked for it. And then our civilian staff also gets their training. Like our records clerk continues to get the IPRA updates and things like that for training there. Next one, please. Our fleet, due to being short-staffed, we took advantage of that. We got rid of a bunch of the old cars that were doing nothing but causing maintenance issues while we're waiting on new ones to get built and delivered. So I noticed one of the old ones is out front now, so. Yeah, next one. Okay. COVID has really kind of hit us. We were trying to get uniforms in for the last 2 years. We finally switched vendors, and it took them about 6 months to start getting this new uniforms in. It was kind of a big cost because we were unable to replace uniforms over a couple of years. We just got 14 new tasers in. The old ones were outdated and obsolete, not supported by Axon anymore. So we've had those out now for the patrol officers. And of course, we're trying to retain the officers we have by giving them the things that make the department more appealing, updating the pistols and things like that. Getting some less lethal options so that we have the options not to just shoot or use pepper spray or a taser. Sometimes there's better things for that. The detectives have now moved over here to the old planning and zoning office. So the two of them are over here working, which will be great. If we have a major crime situation, that whole unit will be in the other half of that office. So, and then everybody's noticed the fence that's caused our parking lot to dramatically shrink for the moment while they're hopefully get that done this week. They're doing a great job on it. And that'll give us the security to keep our equipment from driving out the parking lot in the middle of the night and keep our staff that's working at night a little more secure. And next one. And just some of the technical things that we need to keep working on. We just got to update our interview room cameras and our security cameras around our police department. I think we've got 4 cameras that have gone down on the outside. But we make sure the ones in the evidence room are working good. And then the speed enforcement cameras are up, and we're still seeing a lot of violators. The next one, please. So here's some of the stats on that. This is from the warning period. During that 30 days of warnings, 2,838 warnings went out. We had one extreme repeat offender that had 17 violations that went out during that 30-day period. So you can kind of see, I don't know why it has an unpaid amount there because it's warnings. There was nothing that was coming in during that period. And so next one, please. And then since we've gone live with it, there were a total of, as of the 7th, when I ran the report, 503 violations had gone out. Two people had 6 violations, 2 had 4, 10 had 3, 42 had 2. So, and then of course, they're showing up at municipal court and the office. And we've had one person who selected the community service option so far. So I'll keep you posted as those numbers continue to come through. Any questions on those ones?
Did that say
Some-
there's only 23 that have been paid? Is that what that said?
At the time of the report, so, I mean, it's. What is that, about 3 weeks into it, so.
I
some
got a
s-
question.
Some city staff has received theirs.
Well, you're gonna get a bunch of them more if you keep it on 24 hours when there's no school.
Right. But we're getting,
That's never gonna end.
right. But these are residential neighborhoods and we're still getting people going through 40 miles an hour plus, 50 miles an hour plus. So.
Well, I quit going to the school zone. I'm going around everywhere. I don't wanna get to school.
Yeah.
Sounds like y'all just need to follow him around.
Maybe so. I mean, there's a couple of people they're gonna give us the frequency of dates and times, and we're gonna go see if we can give them a full-fledged traffic citation, so. Our officers are working really hard for everybody. They kind of ran a report the other day just to kind of share. So they're working an average of 248 hours of overtime a year. I had one this week, this last pay period, that had 140 hours worked total for the pay period. That'd be our detective who was helping out with the double homicide, child abduction up in Clovis. So that's kind of where he's at, but I did have 5 officers that had over 100 hours of overtime. So they're putting in the hours for everybody. So I mean, the annual hours worked per year is 2,529. I believe 2080 is straight 40. For us, it would be an 84-hour pay period. So just kind of a little breakdown there. Just like show how much they're working for everybody. Next one, please. And then just from last year, the last 2 years, I should have tried to get some stats for this year to date, but you know, we're handling a lot of calls. I mean, 13,000, 12,000. They're making the traffic stops. And this is from the few officers we have on the streets at a time. But then to compare it to what the other agencies in the county are working, you see we're dwarfing the amount of work and the hours, so. Next, please. So for recruitment, you know, we had the money thrown at us from the state. We were able to get 3 officers this last year, 1 certified, 2 uncertified. And we currently have 1 that would be a certified waiver, which is just a 2-week academy, and then the other one would be uncertified, come to go to the whole 17 weeks, so. I think that's it. Yep. So, I tried to be brief. So,
Mr. Williams, on the recruitment
yes,
pay, where do we stand with that funding to see where we can get officers on the street and not in like the admin positions?
right, well, if we hire anybody, they're going to the streets. The money is just for whoever comes on, but I mean, we were offering $8,000 all year long. And we managed to get 3 officers. Clovis was doing 2,000, theirs is now 8,000. And they're still seeing the same issues.
Are we still offering our officers retention bonus? Okay, should we look at maybe allocating some of that to make a higher recruitment so that we get more staff?
Right, well, we're not seeing the applicants, so. It's kind of one of those things where we're doing a larger hiring bonus than the other agencies in the area. I mean, the thing that really kills us now is state police's pay plan and lateral options. I mean, you look at it, a captain's making $120,000 a year for state police now. I've had a few come talk to me about how they may go to state police for lateral to start off at, I think, 42 an hour on the bottom end of it. So
Yeah, we're gonna have
it's,
to
they're not helping us any.
ideas to keep them. And then I just wanted to say thank you to the officers that participated in that major crime unit deal that they had over in Clovis. So thanks to your officers that participated in that.
Yes, thank you.
Anything else for Chief? Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. We probably did this backwards, Chief. I think we should have our updates after we had our recognition of the of our people. Yeah. But our next item is a clerk's office update and proclamation. Ms. Swopes.
Good evening, council and mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to be up here. I won't be very long. I hope to keep it very, very quick. I just felt like it was important to make a set of announcements regarding the clerk's office. I don't know how many people of you know who Joanne Martinez Terry is. She was a city clerk for the city of Portales for officially this year, it was 43 years. And the last year and a half, it's been a little over a year and a half, she's been on extended sick leave. And I don't want to share too much information about that because it's not mine to give. But it was critical enough that she finally applied for retirement. So she is officially retired. And the term, I was brought in on September 6th, 2023 to help out with the city clerks. And I'm staying as a city clerk. I was the interim city clerk and they've removed the interim term from my position and I am officially the city clerk. And so I'm taking her position. That in no way is me saying the same thing as I'm filling her role exactly the way she did it. And I'm stepping into her footsteps. I don't think that anybody could step into her footsteps. But I can guarantee you that between me, myself, and the deputy city clerk, Ms. Melissa Carrillo, that the both of us together are determined to be the best city clerks we possibly can be and to serve the community in the city the way that we need to. So I just wanted to share that information and let you know that I wish there were a way we could celebrate Joanne, Ms. Terry, but that remains to be seen. She is in Coronado Care Center and she's receiving critical care. So if you do know her and you love her the way that the city staff loves her, please, I encourage you to send her a card, send her a flower, call her, go out and visit. But as it is, that's my announcement and I am open to questions if you have any.
Any questions? We're glad you're staying on.
Thank you.
Have the utmost confidence in you and Ms. Carrillo that
Thank you.
things will go on and we appreciate you stepping in this interim.
Thank you.
And
I
with
appreciate
that, and the 55th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week was last week, May 5th through the 11th, and we have a proclamation that we did for the clerks, if I may read it. Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk. Now, therefore, I, Michael Miller, Mayor of Portales, do recognize the week of May 5th through the 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerks, Danielle Swopes and Melissa Carrillo, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Dated this 30th day of April, 2024.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You're not next. Sorry. At least not on my agenda.
No, no neither.
Our next is for PHS Awards, Councilman Robinson, and I guess if that's what you were getting up to do, then you are.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At the direction of Councilor Oscar Robinson, we would like to recognize several great accomplishments by our Portales High School students. The choir wasn't able to attend tonight, so we look forward and praise their accomplishments over the last few weeks with all their competitions. But tonight, we'd like to specifically honor, if we could have Mrs. LeMay come forward. So the Media Arts program has done phenomenally, and I'm going to read off all the names that the school sent over. If I missed anyone, I apologize. If I mispronounce your name, feel free to beat me up afterwards, okay? Okay, so they received numerous awards in several categories, including virtual library videos, short videos, humor, self-reflection, promotional, instructional, and graphics. So if I say your name, students, feel free to stand up and wave so the council can recognize you. Nico Barra, Celia Rodriguez, Leon, and a name that I'm not going to try to mispronounce. Annabelle McCaslin, Maria Rosales, Ewan Hastings, Ethan Hastings, Miguel Flores, Adri Ruiz, Sky Oglesby, Angel De Leon, Eldon Vidal, Keisha Johnson, Karen Johnson, Landry Thomas, Sydney Lemire, Kyle Abady, and Nancy Ramirez. Now, if I could get Coach Nathan Chavez to come join us.
Do you want him to present this right now?
I'll send them both up after
Okay.
we're done, if you're okay with that, sure. So to recognize all the many awards in powerlifting, I'm going to read off those names: Lazarus Fitz, Tommy Lopez, Dallas Lozano, Jonathan Jimenez, Noah Swift, Toby Standifer, Xavier Lujan, Jose Bustamante, RJ Evans, Mariah Velasco, Danielle Rivera, Abby Ontiveros, Jalen Maestas, Olivia Long, Lorena Fernandez, Alondra Acosta, Olivia Lowe, Kaylin Ballou, Elizabeth Castillo, Dossie Cordova, and Valerie Bear Williamson. Yeah, you're gonna have to come over here. Oh, yeah.
Front center.
To the media arts. I want to say one thing about these two people. In our community, this is one of our proteges. He grew up here, powerlifted, went to Oklahoma University, which I'm proud of, and came back home, and he started a program in this community. In 2 years, folks, we were third in the state. This young lady here, what, yeah. There's a little old guy with 147 pounds that lived 4 times that. Where is he here? Right there, red shirt. Red shirt. In fact, he's state champ. The media art department, every time the Martin Luther King Commission asks for some help, guess who comes to the media art department? They always help us out. They do it awesome, and we appreciate you, young man. Continue to do the work. We're gonna be begging on you again next year. So we really appreciate what you're gonna do for us. Local parentis is our code. We believe we are the parents of our kids. And that's what we're here for, local parentis. Thank you very much.
Are you ready? Okay. Our next presentation is we want to recognize the accomplishments of the Eastern New Mexico University men's basketball team and their Lone Star Conference championship this year. First one in 20 some odd years.
31.
31. Okay. I guess anyway, it's been a while. And
Oh, yeah.
Coach.
And I just wanted to say.
no, Devin, come on up.
So, Gavin is coming back to us after a few seasons.
One season is all he was gone.
One season, okay, so we're glad that you're back. We're glad that we get to introduce you to the community and have you, at our meeting. And this plaque is just with tremendous recognition. The city of Portales congratulates the EMU men's basketball team 2024 LSC champs.
Come on, Jose.
I just have to thank everybody here because I see some familiar faces. They came to our games and support us, and I use the energy to keep getting better in our journey. And this year is gonna be a nice year too, and we're trying to accomplish to win the nationals.
We're excited.
Very briefly.
I am very excited to be here. Family is actually mad at me right now because they can't be here as well. They wanted to be here 2 or 3 weeks ago, but we can't be here at the end of May. And I'm in the business of help raise young men, to create lasting memories. We had the honor of having Mr. Steve Lloyd here in town, who's our commencement speaker at Eastern New Mexico. And it was really cool to see him there along with his friends and his old teammates. All the stops that we had to eat dinner with him and hang out with him. And I told him, that's what I'm trying to create. I'm trying to raise young men, but we're also trying to create those lasting memories and those lasting relationships. So when those guys come back to Portales and do something special for us. So thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
All right, Chief. I thought this is what you were getting up for a while ago. 50th anniversary EMS week proclamation. Chief Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So it's another year of EMS week, and this year's theme is very important to me as a third generation volunteer, but honoring our past and forging our future. We've decided to step up our game for EMS week. We're not only going to have our annual moment of silence on Wednesday after the tornado sirens at our Station 1, we're also going to do a fire and EMS town hall here in council chambers on Friday, the 24th. And with that, we're going to invite all the volunteer departments so we can do some tabletop scenarios and educate the community on what it takes from the time someone calls 911 to the time services are rendered. We also have a lot of door prizes for the community and the first responders in attendance. And I've asked all the volunteers to bring an elected official. So if you'd like to attend, or if all of you would like to attend, we can do a quorum notice. Just let me know and you're all welcome.
Okay. And with that, I have a EMS week proclamation I'd like to read. EMS week proclamation to designate the week of May 19th through the 25th, 2024 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas the Portales Fire Department Emergency Medical Services is a vital public service and personnel are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year. And whereas the members of the Portales Fire Department Emergency Medical Services team engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of the Portales Fire Department Emergency Medical Services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, I, Michael G. Miller, Mayor of the City of Portales, New Mexico, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th through the 25th, 2024 as Emergency Medical Services Week with the theme EMS, honoring our past, forging our future. I encourage the community to observe this week with the appropriate activities, recognition, and appreciation. Chief? Thank you. Okay, that concludes our presentation. Our next item is minutes of the previous meeting, regular meeting held April 22nd, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Cordova, second by Mr. Robinson. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Next item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is approved by single motion. Any member of the council may request an item to be transferred to the regular agenda from the consent agenda without discussion or vote. There are actually two items. It looks longer than that. One is the ratification of the interim city manager signature on first renewal of on-call engineering architectural services contracts, pay as services rendered, and the ratification of the mayor's signature on agreements with Beasley, Mitchell and Company. What's the pleasure of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Merrick, a second by Ms. Parker. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Next item is the discussion item. It's the water update, and I guess Chief Kathy, you're gonna do that one?
Yes, sir.
Thank you yet again, Mayor and Council. The great employees in our water department have done it yet again. One of the wells at the Blackwater well field was put back online after repairs on 5/2/24, and is currently producing 104 gallons per minute. Also in 5/2, they exercised their plan to rotate resting wells, which has shown positive results. They were able to get another well at that well field repaired and pumping on 5/8 that is currently producing 100 gallons per minute, which allowed them to rest another well. As it stands today, the well field is producing approximately 3 million gallons per day with 30 wells that are being ran. At this time, we are resting 12 wells, which is just under 28%, which is below the recommended 33.3%. But we're making positive progress with the great work everyone is doing. With the great work of our water department, production has caught up to the increased demand and is maintaining the tanks at Johnson Hill at an average of 29.2 feet from May 5th to May 13th, with the current level at 28.9 feet this morning. Also, we've have an approximate 1 million gallons per day based upon the last readings from the resting wells, which gives the entire well field a projected just over 4 million gallons per day production. With the plan in place and ensuring our community's resources are utilized wisely, we will continue rotating resting wells as directed by the experts in our water department and reserve the Sandhill well field for emergency use. The 2023 drinking water report has been published and should be on the city website either tomorrow morning. Thank you. That is a consumer confidence report that's required by the Safe Drinking Water Act. It's a report designed to provide details about the drinking water provided by the city and how it compares to the standards set by regulatory agencies. The report highlights no violations as it has every year, which further documents the great work being done by our water department. As many of y'all know, we had a leak today and our water department, streets department were very quick on it and we're able to get it resolved very quickly at minimal loss of water to our community. So I cannot show enough appreciation to our community members that are following the conservation guidelines and the city staff that continually go above and beyond. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Questions?
Chief, I have one, and I don't know, you may just have to refer to others and get back, but.
Okay.
I have some concern about the wells at Sandhill all being off for a very long extended period of time and not running. So
They run when it's needed to circulate the water in the Lime Street tank. So they're not just resting all the time and they're ran appropriately.
So they are run for maintenance purposes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
To maintain.
Let me make sure I was clear on the question.
Essentially, you have to turn over that tank every so often, correct, at Lime Street? Do you know how often?
I'm not sure what the recommendations are, but I can get back with you on that.
Do you know where the 33% resting in the wells came from?
That's from a lot. No, that's a lot of different organizations, statewide, national, that make that recommendation.
Anything else? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Till we have you up here again. For what? Our next item is the board appointment to the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority. I think, Mr. Merrick, your appointment is up and I would like to recommend to reappoint you for your full term. Is there any objection to that recommendation?
No, sir.
All right, so Mr. Merrick will continue on that authority. The next is the water department, and the first item is, I'm not gonna say this right, inflorescence. Industrial water use permit for 4,000 gallons per month for a cannabis micro grow facility at 705 East Canadian, submitted by Lisa Curtis and Ethan James. And this was unanimously approved by the Public Works Committee in November of 2022. Kelly?
I'll do the best to answer any questions I can. This process was started in 2022 with employees that are no longer here. So everything I'm gonna tell you, we found out through looking up minutes and pulling up permits. So Inflorescence started their process October 18th, 2022. They went to Public Works where they asked for 4,000 gallons for a microgrow. It was approved. The step after that is it comes to City Council for its final approval. But on the city side, it was never brought to City Council. An email was sent out to the applicants that pretty much approved them, the water, saying that all their stuff had gone through and that their permits would come in. But we still need to finish this final step for everything to be official, but they have already been awarded their permits through the New Mexico state. So 4,000 gallons from the past is pretty common for a microgrow. And so they're just looking to get their water started and finish that last step. I believe we have some people here who can answer more questions than I should be able to. If you have any questions for me, I will do my best to answer them.
Any questions? Where was the breakdown in not getting it to us in November or 2020?
I'm not sure.
It was because the state engineer, we had issues with the state engineer. We had to redo the complete electrical system in that building. And so the state electrical engineer had some major issues, personal issues, I guess.
Okay.
And it really screwed us up. Really good.
Okay, but you've been proceeding.
As much as we could.
Yeah. Okay. So what we need to do today is approve this that was approved in November of 2022, if that's the pleasure of the council.
So moved.
A motion? I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Robinson made the motion. I think Mr. Lopez made the second. If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next is our streets, and it's approval of resolution number 2024-08, a resolution to the New Mexico Department of Transportation for Transportation Road Funding Projects, the TPF. Ms. McVeigh.
Council and Mayor. So this is basically, it's a resolution that is following the ratification that came in another council meeting. And I brought maps this time, so everybody can see the roads. That's the maintenance project that we put in for. And then if you'll go to the next one. That's the capital project that we put in for. And you passed the ratification. So this is just the resolution to put in for the full application.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. McVeigh? If not, do I have a motion for the approval of resolution 2024-08?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Self. Ms. Swopes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Rackler,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is from the Community Services, Ms. McClellan. Our first item is approval of resolution number 2024-09, a required step for the city government's body to approve application for emergency funding of $350,000 from the Board of Finance in regard to a new animal shelter.
Thank you, Mayor Council. This one I actually do know about, so I should be able to answer better. So the Board of Finance has a meeting this month in May. And we turned in a 164-page application requesting $350,000 to build us a larger animal control shelter. Let's go to the next one. So we already submitted our application. It needed its resolution, but because of how our meetings were set up, they agreed to accept the application as long as the resolution came at the next one, which is today. The important parts of what we put in there are included in your packet, but we didn't include the whole 164 pages in this packet. But we have that available if you'd like to read it. They've submitted several follow-up questions that we've answered, so we'll see how that goes. We considered this an emergency because a smaller room means decreased services to citizens. We can't take as many animals, we can't do as much trapping. And the increased feral population means an increase in communicable diseases, some that people can actually get. And then, of course, we've had an increase since we've lost the old shelter of aggressive animal interactions between people and stray dogs mostly. And then our current temporary place intrudes on the fire station space and threatens some of their funding. So that is what our basis of request was for the 350,000. And that includes the possible design work and the building itself. That's our,
Can you hold on that one for just a second?
oh yeah, you can go back.
So explain the fire station part again, I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, I'll have,
Kind of confused.
if you can do it better.
So as it stands, we are funded for 3 main stations that require certain things. One of those things is a available meeting room with restrooms. So we have our main station 1 at 301 South Avenue C, station 2 at 1223 West Ivy. And then we have station 3 at the mechanic shop that has a truck room, an office. And we had access to the meeting room when it was shared between Public Works and the mechanics and us. With the dog shelter moving in temporarily, that risks our funding for that main station status, which could affect our fire fund to up to 60,000 or more per year.
Wasn't aware of that. Thank you.
Any more questions on this one? I'd like to explain how this came about. You may recall that the Lieutenant Governor came to a few of us, even at our reception, and he said, "I'm going to get you this money," and then somehow he didn't. And he called me one day and said, "I feel bad about that." He is the chair of the Board of Finance. They have emergency funding available, and he asked that we make this application so that he could help us get this funding. So, and they worked with us in that this resolution should have gone in with the application, but for the application to be timely, they waived that until we can send it back. So what's the pleasure of the council on this resolution 2409?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cordova, second by Ms. Parker. Ms. Swoops, will you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Reckler,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. South,
Yes.
Mr. Merritt,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Kelly, your next item is approval of intent to adopt an amendment to ordinance number 6676, the downtown ordinance originally adopted in 2008. Amendment's purpose is to make the area more business friendly.
Yes, sir. Just go to the next one. So this was first created in 2008 to keep the downtown area historic, which is kind of the area around your main street and your square. And then because parking problems, C2s, which are your general commercial, have a bigger parking requirement that buildings in this area are having a hard time meeting. There's not a lot of parking. So they created a downtown zone. They handled those. We decided that the downtown ordinance, any amendments, we sent out letters to all the property owners in the downtown area, asking if they would have any recommendations, if they'd like this ordinance to change or to see. And then a subcommittee was assembled to draft this amendment. We included a local business owner, multiple members at the time of the council, and multiple members of the planning and zoning and the economic development director, and myself. So the big changes here, I know you guys requested red line versions, but this had been done last year. It was just waiting to come up. So this version isn't redlined, but I can tell you just the changes. So we updated the codes to match our current building codes and the definitions. We added a special use permit for zoning. How our current one is written, you can get a variance for construction, but you cannot get a variance for zoning. So if you are not zoned for a business there is no permission the city can give you to put a business there. And there's quite a few buildings in repair there that just cannot be sold because no businesses or retailer are allowed there. So this would give it where the council could decide that keeping in tune with the downtown to grant variances for certain businesses. And we've turned some really cool businesses away because of the lack of variances. And then the big one that this did, and this was requested by employees and elected officials that are no longer here, was what was used to change the square into a two-way between the courthouse cafe and the courthouse. And so there was requested this be used again to change that back to a one-way. So the subcommittee was ambivalent about it. They said they didn't mind leaving it in this draft, but if this was accepted as the intent to adopt, they would like letters going out to anyone who owns property on either side of the road to get letters to see how they feel about it, alerting the public hearing. So if you guys accept it, that would be what we'd go and do tomorrow. I think that's all. We go to the next page. Everything on there? Nope. Do you have any questions about this intent to adopt?
Questions for Ms. McClung?
Where was that part in this? I
So
didn't
there-
see anything about the traffic.
So it's gonna be, there's gonna be one that has a bunch of pictures. Let me see, section 607 in streets. And it has the streets and then it shows arrows which way is directing traffic and where they would like the parking. And so it was, one of those has that street section and that it only has one arrow now. So we turn it back into an official square. But they came out a little light.
Is it blue printed?
Yeah, the blue ones.
The.
They kind of look bluish.
Yeah, those are showing ideal versions of this. Yeah, those are ideal versions of it, but they have two arrows saying they're all two-way streets. And so this would be changing it by taking one of those arrows out. So it would be a full square.
I feel like we discussed this once before and we talked about other options like changing the angle on the parking.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a great suggestion. If we approve this now, is that off the table?
No,
Now it's
This
gonna
is
go
just
back?
approving that we're bringing the ordinance for you. And then when we come back in 30 days, you guys can make any of the changes you like. I just brought this draft since it was the final draft that the committee accepted.
So to Mike's point, help me understand. We can go ahead and do the intent right now.
Right.
And if the idea of changing that to a one-way appears to be negative, then we would just amend that portion out of that ordinance when we accepted it.
Okay.
Okay, and if I recall, that whole courthouse design was based on that being a two-way street. The egress and access into the courthouse was part of that plan, because used to you came out on First and Second Street back in the day. And I'm not so sure, and you might check on this, that DOT, even though it's our street, DOT may have a saying in that because of, the lights both on First and Second, so.
It actually turns into a state highway.
And then didn't we change that into a two-way because that one street was then vacated? The one
Yes.
in
Yes,
front of the.
yes, commercial
East
east
Rainy.
of Main, yes, that was part of that reasoning too.
Lady Haskell.
Commercial
So,
Avenue.
I think we wait and see because I think it's gonna be a negative idea to try to change that to a one-way street. The one thing I would like to cut out on it is truck traffic. I think that would make a big difference in that. When those big semis come down there and try to make that turn onto Second Street, but if that's one of the recommendations and we can remove it when we actually go and adopt the ordinance in 30 days, see what people say.
I actually saw a design of I don't know if it's a new type of parking, but as people were going down that street to the west, the parking positions were actually at an angle going the same direction they would. Then they would stop and just like parallel parking back into that position. That would leave the front of their vehicle out towards the street. And then when they got in, they could just take off and leave. And actually it was more of an angle also. And looked like a lot simpler design than trying to back out into traffic, so.
South Congress and in Austin, it's exactly the way they do that.
And the big problem though, there on the one side of the street is the large curb that's there.
People
You
won't
start
go
having
up there.
people back up, they're gonna hit that sidewalk
Well,
curb a bunch.
Currently, we've got cars that'll stop. 10
Way
foot
short of
before
it.
they get
Yeah.
to the curb, because they're afraid they're gonna scrape their bumper and then get out in the back of their vehicle.
In
halfway
the
out
street.
Yep,
the street.
exactly.
So.
We'll see how the community.
So at this point, I guess our option is either to go ahead and approve this intent or not approve this. And then deal with that issue. If we approve it, we deal with that issue when it comes back to us.
I have another question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So in 2008, you said this was approved. Was it a committee back then? Was it?
I'm not
anything-
sure. That was predates me from Portales for quite a while. But I didn't find any notes on it being a committee. I believe it was just accepted by council, and I believe Sammy Standiford wrote it on council's direction.
Main Street program.
Yeah.
This, and I didn't know if that had anything to do with some of the.
I think that's where it come from. It didn't, Steve. The idea.
Oh, maybe it was.
Main Street, they were very active in that.
Okay, because the way I was reading through all of this, there was a lot of ideas about trying to create more of a festive atmosphere in the downtown area. And they talked about lofts and second stories, porches, all of that stuff, so.
And I think Kelly's got a lot of that incorporated into these drafting plans.
We left a lot of the buildings alone. We took out, they had a very grand ideas for vegetation. Hedges and that kind of stuff. We did take that out because the businesses would leave and it'd fall on the city to prune the trees and take care of all the hedges.
When you first did that, you did plant those Bartlett pears, right? Those-
Yeah, right.
And then even some of, you put in the new light fixtures. And you actually had plants on those at that time when we had a main street that was, coming in and taking care of that, so.
Wish you hadn't mentioned putting in those lights. I don't want you to mention who was involved in putting them in and whether or not permits were obtained or. individuals know-
Maybe the statute of limitations is over on that, so. Mr. Merrick, any further questions or comments?
No.
I have one just for clarification. I read through it, but it was long. And I don't know what adding the SUP for zoning, I can't remember where that was at in here, what that is.
So, it's called an alternate compliance, that if you don't meet the construction standards set up here, that you can go to P and Z and city council.
Oh, that's the
And-
variance part?
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
considered a variance, but there's none for zoning. You can only get a variance if the zoning is correct. So if a building, a business wants to go there and it's not zoned, which that zoning is really, really strict. We cannot allow them no matter what. They can't even come to city council and get a variance. Because they're not allowed a variance. So this would say if someone wants to put a retail place in where retail is not allowed, they can at least come to council for your guys' permission. Versus just denying it, period.
Just didn't know what the acronym stood for. Thank
Oh, yeah, so a special use permit.
you. Okay, thank you.
I did notice that some of the allowed variances for the administrator or the, what do you call it? The,
Alternate compliance review.
so they were allowing like 5% variances or 10% variances on setbacks and doorways and things like that. And a lot of those things would be like a 5 foot, 8 foot setback, and you're talking inches of variance that you could approve. It seemed like it was kind of like the language should have been left a little more open to allow a little more leeway than just, that's pretty tight whenever you're talking 5% on 5 foot doorway or something.
That's just a remnant of the old ones. If you guys would like to change that, I'm not attached to it by any means.
Right.
Any further questions or comments? Pleasure of the council.
I'd like to make a motion to approve, with the recommendation, if you have any changes to get with Kelly.
Second. Who seconded? Okay. Motion by Ms. Cordova, second by Mr. Robinson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. That concludes our regular agenda. It is now time for council and staff comments. I will begin with staff. And I'll just go from whomever.
So we received notice from the Department of Finance Authority or Administration about 25 million statewide for firefighter recruitment. That I'll be bringing that application to the meeting. It pays for up to $65,000 for their salary and benefits for the first year, then 50% the next year, 25% the third year. It's a great opportunity for us to get the staffing that we drastically need. So,
Very good.
Good deal. Thank you.
Good news.
Any other comments from staff? All right, I'll start with Mr. Rackler.
Wow. I would like to say to the staff that was there today, I went to the training at CCC to just review the Open Meetings Act and IPRA requirements. And 5 or 6, I was counting heads, I think 5 or 6 of our ladies were there with me at that. And I just appreciate our staff taking the time, even though we've all been through it, just to make sure we're up to date and we're, you know, doing everything that we can to follow all those. So I appreciate you ladies for being there. And I know Steve's not here, but the top concern I'm still getting right now from the community is that our trash is not being picked up. I get it. I get called all the time about it. I get people coming in my office talking to me about it. I know without cameras on the dumpsters, we have no way of proving whether it got picked up one day and filled up right when they put it back down. I understand that, but I don't know. I'd just like for us to look into ways to improve what we're doing with our garbage collection, because that sure seems to be a real hot topic. Has been. Thank you.
Ms. Parker?
In talking with that, and of course, Steve is absent, but did we talk about last time that if the driver goes to pick up a dumpster and there's debris or things outside of the dumpster, are we doing a system that they write that down and
They're
turn that in?
documenting it and turning in a work order, but I will check on that and get back to you.
Okay, because we had talked about that. We've talked about that quite a bit. So if you would. Also, I want to thank the chief, interim city manager, and your entire staff at the city hall. I mean, from everybody that's participating in everything that's going on, and especially like with our water department, our street department, and everybody's short-staffed and they're just working to the end, and we appreciate it very, very much. And just please let them know that we do appreciate them. Update again, I'm sorry, on the skate park, because now that school is within reach of being out, lots and lots of kids. I noticed there were some people there today. Are we completely done with that? Have we signed off on it? Or are we still?
We are not completely finished with it yet. We are hoping to wrap that up around, I believe, the 18th, so we're very close. But they're going to go in right now and they're basically patching everything up, making sure that it looks good and that their work is that they're proud of what they're going to be giving us. I did do a walkthrough and then I gave them some notes. So they came in and they're looking at that and they're rectifying some of it.
Did we come up with what we're gonna do with the dirt that's on the outside of it?
They're still in process with that, but we do have some ideas. Yes.
Okay, and then you did say something about furthering with grants, like in another phase with lighting, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate it. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Merrick?
We had a request to write a letter to Ms. Fernandez. Is that her?
Ledger Fernandez, yeah.
Have you heard anything back on that?
I have received several emails and phone calls just asking more questions and wanting to understand what it is more, what our need is, that type of thing. So I've just been answering and giving them as much information as I have. They don't have a decision yet, but yes, we are staying in touch.
I would also like to just chime in and thank all of the staff for everything they do. It's I don't know if the public really realizes how short-staffed we are and how much people are getting into positions. And trying to make the best of the situation, and I appreciate it. That's about all I have. Oh, there is work being done on the 18th Street and Kilgore. Didn't come for that. We're following them very closely. We actually talked to them coming in here. They are on schedule for their walls on Friday, and from what I was told, they are on schedule to be done by the 31st. The staff did have concrete pours and cylinders broke this week, and your concrete's coming in above design strength in 3-day breaks. So they're gonna expedite that as much as they can. So I drove down there today just to see the progress. It is coming in.
Finally.
Yeah, it's taking a while.
And I'd like to give credit to Mr. Burns because I called him the other day and I said, can you help us with constructor things at all? And he made some phone calls and things started happening. So I give him a little credit for that.
Well, I had 3 notes and all of them were hit on, but I just want to praise the staff and the water department today of getting that leak fixed rapidly. Kudos to them, and that's all I have.
Dick?
Well, what I want to do is ask the council if they know that that alley between where it used to be the food town and McDonald's, it's a disaster. We can't even drive to it. And I've been trying to get it fixed for I don't know how long. And they give me the excuse that we don't have a maintainer, we don't have the parts for it or whatever. But I think that if we have the way of getting somebody to do it. I went through it and I don't know why I did it, but there's some big holes in there that even my pickup was hard to get through. And I don't even see how the trash.
I drove it.
Anyway, that's one of my gripes. And I don't want to say the rest of it.
I'll check into it, Jake, and get back.
Well, I mean, the last time we talked about it, nobody did anything, you know? And I think it needs to be done.
And Chief, to his point, I don't know how the garbage truck gets there.
I'm not sure. I'll have to check this. Well, if I can find it.
And I want to thank the staff for doing so much work to get over this. And I hear we're going to get see Mandy one of these days.
Hopefully.
That's all.
Okay, thank you, Russell.
Yeah, just want to say thanks to the staff for all that you do, being short staffed. I know that's a lot of stress and wearing multiple hats. So thank you guys. Back to the trash. Are the trucks still broke down? Any update on that or?
I would have to confirm with Steve that the last update that I have before I put the last email from the last council meeting that the biggest issue right now is driving. I believe all of our trucks are in order to repair that. We have enough trucks for the drivers that we have.
Yeah.
But those positions are
Okay. And then as far as, I know at one time we had an idea for us to clean up the dumpsters that need to repair and then have possibly the shop class at Dallas High or the local communities repair it. Has anybody pursued that or?
You can set up a program that does code the city to apply on, you have to get the liability insurance coverage.
Can we check with Clinton and see what we can do?
Sure, we have to have the specifics on what you want them done, but it is, we'll be working in school with the shop, superintendent, somebody watching them.
I think my understanding was they just wanted to try 1 or 2 just to start out, but it was gonna be us pressure washing the dumpsters, getting them cleaned up for the kids. And then probably buy the material, whatever they need. And then it would just be up to the shop teacher person in charge to in the
So it'd be a
discussion-
matter of dropping it off. but-
Yeah, and the discussion I had with him, what he's wanting to do is we just set them on there upside down. And they would just weld the new bottom and skirt on it. So we're not wanting any possibility of kids getting in them. Just set them upside down where we can weld the new bottom and skirt. And
I'm sure there are standards and specifications that
if there's, yeah, if there's a way we could do that. But anyway, I'd like for us to keep pursuing that too.
Mr. Robinson?
No.
Not a thing, huh? All right.
My turn. I want to start off by thanking the citizens and the residents that stayed on stage 3. I know that you guys are taking a lot of pride. I'd also like to thank them for the support that they reached out to me on for the meeting that had happened. So just want to know that we work as hard as we can to get things done. And sometimes, you know, they just don't go exactly as planned. But I do appreciate all of that. And then I want to thank everybody who stood up for what they believed in today. I think that when we do that, we get to hear a different view of what everybody is seeing, not just one side. So I appreciate the people who stood up today. And then my last thing that I have is that, and I'm sad that she's not here, but she had kindergarten graduation. But I wanted to congratulate Jenna for completing the Portales Leadership Program. It's a year-long program, and she attended every meeting. She was vital in the pickleball for Portales tournament. I was actually out there and watched her firsthand. She did a lot of hard work on top of everything that she does here for us at the city. And I just like to echo everybody's comment about the staff. I appreciate everything that everybody does. I know that some days are harder than others, but we see all the hard work that you're doing. And that is all I have.
Okay, thank you. You know, I want to echo about the staff. And it's been such a pleasant thing that when something is addressed, we get action and not excuses. And that's been really, really a pleasant surprise, and I really do appreciate it. I appreciate this council because everybody here has chipped in with the things that we've had and have been going on. Extra meetings, this and that. Particularly Ms. Cordova, as the mayor pro tem, she spends a lot of time working with the staff and answering questions, and I really do appreciate that. Chief Kathy, you're just doing a great job. I really do appreciate that. A couple of things. I think you guys might have been aware, but the Department of Transportation Commission was scheduled to meet here on Thursday. I got a call from Commissioner Tonjes yesterday afternoon. Something happened. They didn't advertise the meeting properly or anything, so they've rescheduled that meeting for May 30th, Thursday, May 30th, 8:30. It will be in the Campus Union Building. And it's, believe it or not, it's quite an honor to have the Transportation Commission come to your community. Our Commissioner Tonjes, is a Eastern alum, and I think that's the reason he wanted them to be in Portales. So May 30th, they'll be here. Also, I got a call from President Johnston, and then later a call from Vanessa Kennedy from the governor's office. The governor has a program called Cabinet to Community, and she will be coming to our community either July 8th or July 9th. Right now, it's tentatively July 9th. Brings the entire cabinet, and they will be here for the public to go and have conversations directly with departments, you know, motor vehicle, whatever it may be, human services, public health. All the cabinet will be here and to be available to the public to help them through their any issues they might have. And that's tentatively scheduled for July 9th, maybe July 8th. They're going here and in Clovis, and they recently did it in Farmington and Shiprock, and I understand it was a pretty successful program. So, you know, might pencil those dates in. So the city manager search or the application closes on Friday, the 17th. I think we have a few applications at present time. A screening committee of Ms. Parker, Ms. Cordova, and myself. We'll review that and decide how we're gonna proceed from the applications that we have and how we will involve the entire council in that decision. But the entire council at some point will be part of that decision when it's time to make a decision on hiring the next city manager. So hopefully those applications produce some quality candidates. We'll keep you advised as that moves forward. So, and that's all I have. So at this time, I will take action to convene in closed meeting to discuss matters as provided for under New Mexico statute relating to limited personnel matters, RE pending litigation, specifically Roosevelt County Water Co-op. So I will take a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second by Mr. Elkins.
Sure.
Ms. Swoops, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Rackler,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Stout,
Yes.
Mr. Merritt,
Yes.
and Mr. Lavaca. Sorry, Lopez.
Congratulations on your name change.
Yes.
All right, we are now in executive session. Okay, I need action to convene an open session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cordova, second by Mr. Self. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Only those items mentioned in the motion to go into executive session were discussed. No action was taken and no action is needed. Briefly, and I forgot to announce this, but just for you guys. Mr. Elkins and I are meeting with Joey Martin of DFA on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And then next Wednesday at 1 o'clock, we are having a workshop with EPCOR. The workshop is for the council.
When's it?
Wednesday.
Wednesday at 1 o'clock.
Wednesday at 1.
Next week?
Yeah.
And we may have a hard stop because he's got people that need to get back on a plane to go back to Phoenix. Right. Okay, so we're adjourned.